Now, we've talked about all the wonderful reasons that we eat M&Ms, all these powerful promoting pressures that cause it to be true. But I'm going to make a bet with you. Most of you, probably when watching this video, most of you when learning, probably aren't eating M&Ms right now. Why not? You just told me they're delicious and beautiful and highly identified and all these other things, caloric, satisfying, all these other things that make it likely that we will eat M&Ms. Why aren't you eating them right now? So take a second and give us some inhibiting pressures. Why might you not be eating M&Ms? Well, one of the dominant things is probably availability. If you look around on your desk, it's likely that there are no M&Ms directly in front of you. You might have some in your house, maybe in the kitchen on a high shelf, hopefully somewhere, make it a little harder to get to them. But you might not even have them in the house. Eating M&Ms would involve getting in a car or walking somewhere to get M&Ms, buying them from somebody, coming back. And that's a powerful inhibiting pressure, right? That's a lot of effort to go through for something. You have to really want it. So, for example, somebody'd say, if you really wanted M&Ms, you'd be willing to go to the kitchen to get them. But evidence tells us that's not entirely true. We know that if I make something radically available, if I put it right in front of you on your desk, you're dramatically more likely to eat it. Even if I put it 5 or 10 feet away, all you'd have to do is walk across the room. Availability turns out to be a very, very powerful inhibiting pressure. Imagine that I was magical. I could just rub my fuzzy bald head and make a bowl of M&Ms appear on your desk right now. Well, would that make all of you eat M&Ms right now? Probably not. Remember, this is probabilistic, not deterministic. It's not simply true that because A, therefore B. Rather, because I lowered the inhibiting pressure of availability, I didn't make you go walk to get them. I made it easy for you to get. I probably could change some of your behavior. You have to admit that at least some of you would be eating M&Ms right now if I put M&Ms on your desk, especially after we talked about all the things that make them great, all those promoting pressures, delicious, social, shareable, identified, all the other things, right? All of those promoting pressures that we just made very salient in your brain, if I just tweak that inhibiting pressure a little bit, probably I can change your behavior. Now, generally, we don't start thinking about behavior change until a later step, right? Once we get into that design, we want to stay in the insights phase really, really well grounded in just finding the map of pressures that we can observe of people. But as I'm trying to teach you about pressures, it can be useful to remember, hey, this change bit is what we're really interested in, right? And everything that we do here, all of this understanding of the pressures is going to lead us to be able to create designs that are clearly connected to these pressures later. So what other inhibiting pressures are there among M&Ms? Well, availability is certainly one, but, what about health? Right? We know that eating a lot of M&Ms probably is not all that good for us. A lot of, simple sugars is probably not all that great for us. It rots our teeth, right? That's one version of the inhibiting pressure, right? Maybe it changes our appearance or makes us more likely to have diabetes. Now, this is why calories is such an interesting one. Calories is not really the pressure, right? The pressures are satiation, the promoting pressure, and dishealth, the inhibiting pressure. Calories changes both of those at the same time, right? It makes us more satiated, but it also contributes to dishealth. So there's this interesting interplay between an intervention and how it may change pressures on both sides, right? More than one thing. But there's also other things other than raw calories that can change our perception of dishealth. We can make M&Ms seem more or less healthy, separate from their actual real dishealth and the way that they affect us. It is that perception that changes our behavior, not the actual thing. Every pressure is filtered through our individual experience, our emotions and cognitions. The pressures themselves are not emotions and cognitions, but they're filtered through those in order to be the things that determine our behavior. There are lots of other inhibiting pressures related to M&Ms. For example, I often think about cost or the perception of cost. Now, again, that might change between people. I might not perceive $1 for a bag of M&Ms as extraordinarily costly, but lots of people around the world live on less than $1 a day. The strength of pressures may also change due to context. So I often think about the brand of M&Ms, which are highly appropriate in a lot of circumstances. They're associated with holidays and fun and all these other kinds of things that candy generally is. But there are also moments where it doesn't make sense. Imagine you and I are dating and you come home and I've prepared a beautiful meal for you. A little filet mignon, some red wine, some candlelight, and for dessert, M&Ms. Oof, you broke up with me, right? M&Ms are not appropriate for that moment. That's a Lindt moment. That's a dark chocolate moment. That's a differently communicated brand. So brand can be a promoting pressure in some circumstances, but in another circumstance, it may be inhibiting pressure. This happens a lot. Think about color. That bright, beautiful mix of colors is really appropriate in a lot of contexts. But you don't see people serving M&Ms at funerals very often. Generally, bright colors aren't associated with funerals in most cultures. We don't want that sort of bright, colorful mix in this somber moment. So pressures can change between contexts as well.